So question answer, anything is there during, or we can have later to the presentation?
At the end of your presentation, we can do it.
That will be nice. So, good afternoon. I am Sukant Sahu. I am working as a Deputy General Manager in NABARD. Basically an agriculture engineer. Prior to joining NABARD in 99, I have worked with the government of Orissa and also in ICR Krida, Hyderabad. So it is an opportunity for me. So I am privileged to be with you. Now, yes, I'll be, while touching upon making a presentation, I will take this opportunity to highlight what our experience from NABARD side, besides touching the other areas, while very well appreciating the domain and contour drawn by Dr. Prabhakar Reddy sir. Yes, next please. So I say when we look at risks associated from climate change, we divide it in physical risk and transition risk. So that is one way of classifying. And when I see climate change action to mitigate this risk, I can very well classify to mitigation and adaptation. Of course, there is a much area where there is a co-interaction or co-benefit. Now, if you see the mitigation side, it is intended for greenhouse gas emission reduction, and it will have a good impact on reducing the need for adaptation. So, but it is a little global level as compared to adaptation, which is a more local level. As we say, like as rightly said, that climate change is pronounced with human interference rather than it's a natural climate change scenario. So we need to address how best we can minimize our greenhouse gas reduction that will reduce the hazard from the climate actors, which is pronounced or which is translated through extreme weather events. Then also, when we see the other side of the who is under risk, our community, our different sectors for livelihood, be it agriculture or coastal ecosystem or forestry related ecosystem. So either it is the risk is a factor, risk is pronounced through interface of how much exposure our entity is to the climatic factor or action, and how vulnerable it is. And vulnerability of the particular community or sector has more than sectoral vulnerability. It also has a link with socioeconomic status, how the governance mechanism is there, how the resources are shared for the particular community or individual per se. So it goes beyond sectoral risk when we look at the vulnerability risk. For this, there are different tools available to assess the risk so that we prioritize our resources at country level or at local level. So for which we can, to note prominent is the agricultural climate risk developed by ICR. It's an index where the country's different rural districts have been classified. Almost 19% of our rural districts, 109 are very high risk districts, while 35% are categorized at high risk. So it adds up to almost 50% either high risk or high vulnerable risk. This is about the CRIDA's ICR's classification. When you look at DST's classification, Government of India, they factor in the rainfed agriculture area share, the population matrix, and the profile of the whole ecosystem, and goes towards vulnerability of the community. And they have classified into different, from 14 indicators, they classify different state and up to the district level also, vulnerability risk is there. These are the guidance factor when we plan any climate change action within the policy framework set by the Government of India. So we have the net zero target from Government of India by 2070. In August, government has come up with updated nationally determined contributions. Yesterday, we have got long-term low emission development strategy, where government has pronounced prominently about the 5 key areas where we will be working upon, and that prominently considering the current energy crisis and the issue with finance and technology coming, government has eyed for threefold increase in nuclear energy. So plus we have got a domestic carbon market which is in the offing. Government has moved a bill to mobilize carbon market finance, which will help even adaptation sector also, which has a mitigation co-benefit. We have got RBI discussion paper, which talks about climate finance and disclosures, so that financial entities will be sensitized, and while taking financial decisions, the climate risk will be factored in, and certain risk management tools are adopted so that our financial system also is more or less resilient to climate risks. All these are guided by whenever we sanction by National Adaptation Plan for Climate Change, which is under, which is further worked upon by UNDP with support from PricewaterhouseCoopers. We have got state level action plan on climate changes, which is being aligned with our net zero target by 2070. So this is the process where we are moving at the national level scenario on climate change action. When we, next please, when we look at, I take this opportunity as NABARD is the leading organization. It is a developmental financial institution. NABARD has been accredited as a national implementation entity, NIE, for Adaptation Fund, which is an international financing arm under UNFCCC. Then it is a national implementing entity for National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change of Government of India. And we are also a direct access entity for Green Climate Fund. Recently, we have got reaccreditation approved by the GCA board. We will be shortly going for agreement. If you see our core climate change portfolio, some 40 projects we have, we are supporting, which is in the slide itself, it is coming close to 1,852 crore. That is $257 million. And this 40 includes two, that is a readiness grant for supporting support measures for different initiatives. One is in Afghanistan, another is in policy level design. Yeah, next please. So coming to one by one, I'll just browse through. When you look at the Adaptation Fund project, it covers different sectors. It is spread over 25 states and 2 union territories. And different sectors, if you see prominently, it is agriculture sector plus ecosystem conservation and livelihood. So while looking into like NRM or sectoral issues, we also see that livelihood is sustainable and environment friendly. So it is different proposals we have. We are moving. Besides $10 million, which was for India. For India, NABARD is the only national implementing entity. We had mobilized $9.94 million. Another $10 million AFB has allocated additional country cap. So we are mobilizing proposals, and different proposals are at different stages. Next, please. So when you see the GCF, GCF is the leading partner, leading climate international finance arm. It has a global portfolio of 209 projects or programs covering 42.4 billion when we include co-financing part, and this includes close to $11 billion from GCF side. It comes in the form of grant, loan, equity, guarantee, like that. So when we look at India, we have got so far 7 projects or programs. It adds up to 529 million US dollar of GCF support. But when you look at grant-based finance, it is coming close to around 82 million US dollar. Out of these 7, NABARD is the only player in national level player who has got 2 projects. These 2 projects, one is very interesting projects. One is with TCCL, which looks into like solar rooftop installation at Pan India project. 250 megawatt rooftop solar units are planned. We have so far installed more than 200 megawatt. Then greenhouse mitigation is expected to be designed is 8.17 million ton carbon dioxide. It is basically a blended product where 100 million US dollar is given by GCF and another 100 million USD in rupee term, TCCL has to pump in, and 50 million US dollar equivalent will be from the margin money. That means total financial outlay will be 250 million US dollar, which will have 1:1, 100 million and 100 million each from GCF and TCCL, and contributor like whoever is installing the project, installing the unit, beneficiary or the party will give another 50 million US dollars. So it is we call it a blended product. This is about making it a solar rooftop unit, which is not a fast move, which is yet to get so good traction as compared to the, if you remember, it was something like 40 gigawatt installation out of 100 gigawatt solar power was the target set by Government of India. We are inching now closer to that. There is of late there is a small traction. Other project is in Odisha, which DPR was one of the acclaimed DPRs while the project was sanctioned. So it is about the groundwater recharge through recharge shafts in some 10,000 community tanks in Odisha. Then when the groundwater goes up, we around the water bodies or tanks, we install solar pumps for irrigation in 1,000 units. So it will be helping us to have micro irrigation, lesser water, conservation of energy through solar systems, and livelihood is ensured. It will be supported along with the with climate resilient crop planning. So it will be like 2.5 lakh hectare of tribal land will be benefited, which will be benefiting something like 5.2 million, 52 lakh beneficiaries are target beneficiaries. This also has a co-benefit through emission reduction around 2,600 plus ton of carbon dioxide equivalent per year. So this is a co-benefit project, but primarily adaptation project. Here the grant is 34.35 million US dollar, and the government is putting something like TFO would be close to 6 times. We are also mobilizing proposals for GCF. We will come back. I'll touch upon what are the issues with these projects next, please, if time permits. Then third part, these are 2 international funding what we have mobilized for core climate change action. Now, Government of India has got a flagship program, National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change. We have sanctioned 30 projects. Now 18 are ongoing. Rest 12 have been completed or closed. It is something like 847 crore is the grant support under NFCC, other than associate costs. So sectoral part, when you see a core part of it is going to climate resilient agriculture. So at the cost of repetition, when you look at the landscape of climate change action at a policy level, public funding through like government, it needs to be towards adaptation, because here I would like to draw your attention. If you look at the finance part, one side is mitigation, other side is adaptation. Mitigation has a good areas like solar devices, which are commercially viable. If you remember, it was such a scenario when reverse auction mechanism was there, that solar power cost agreement fell below 2 rupees per kilowatt hour unit, which became unviable for meeting the commitment of, for installation. Such as the scenario, it has become so cost competitive. So one side you have got like electric vehicles or solar systems, which can be a business proposition, and market takes care of the financial need, and people are there to blend their products to associate. Other side, the extreme is adaptation, where people are resource poor, they are more vulnerable, and a lot of exposure is there, uncertainty is there. And as such, if you see like agriculture, it is subvented. If we are lending to agriculture, something like at 7% per annum, it is subvented. Plus, farmer also is given incentive if for early repayment. So the sector as such is vulnerable, and climate adds to it. So to expect that it will be a viable proposition or bankable proposition as such, it will be a distant dream, for which public investment like through government or institutional players through grant component is very much required for like you uplift the community and make them resilient, so that they will go to the next step towards mitigation also. So here coming back to the focal topic like NFCC, here is basically NFCC. Here it is basically towards adaptation measures, and the projects have been designed in line with the state action plan for climate change. It is aligned with that, and it is proving a good pointer for initiative at national level. Yes, next please. We have also knowledge management products. I will not take much time. We have got a Center for Climate Change at Lucknow, which takes care of sharing of knowledge across the entities, be it financing institutions or NGOs or other entities for climate literacy and mobilizing climate change action. We have got a climate change fund with a 20 crore corpus. Now it's NABARD's fund. Here we promote climate change action through different initiatives. We collaborate with international players, like we discussed about climate finance international level. What we did, we have a strong collaboration with KfW and GIZ, long-term collaboration. We have got Swiss Development Corporation. We are in talks with Asian Development Banks. So these are the collaborations at international level, and also national levels. We have got CSR partners. Also large-scale programs are going on. We come up with knowledge products, capacity building, and sharing our knowledge and networking to move the message ahead. Next, please. So here we discussed about the core climate change initiative. But before the climate change became a buzzword, we have been doing activities through our different programs that has a strong bearing on climate change, and making it both mitigation and adaptation measures. Primarily, it is a Watershed Development Fund and Tribal Development Fund. It looks NRM related, NRM Natural Resource Management related program, which has, if you see, it is close to $685 million equivalent we have already pumped in, and it is benefiting 1.8 million families across 2.8 million hectare area. Next, please. We also have CSR types. So we discussed. We also have a Rural Infrastructure Development Fund. Last year we had got 40,000 crore. It is it's a big money for different sectors goals, which has a good bearing on climate resilient infrastructure. We also support special initiatives under Farm Sector Promotion Fund. We also support through our refinance to the banks who support, who extend credit for climate change action. So this is basically supporting private sector finance through different arms. Before I move to the other areas flagged by the organizer to touch upon carbon credit and trading and climate insurance, my slide doesn't help me that way, but I will like to flag some of the problems or the concerns, key concerns in climate change financing especially. We find there's a big time lag in accessing international finance. If you go for accreditation or reaccreditation or sanction of projects, it takes almost 1.5 to 2 years. It's a strong and very stringent scrutiny and clarification and rounds of negotiation and discussion that finally materializes for international finance. It could further be more severe because resources are crunched at every field, be it a financing body or who is applying for finance. Like GCF has clarified that, made it clear that they would like to reach almost every nation with 2 projects or so. So that indirectly says that since having the resources limited, so to push through or to get finance for a project, you have to make it, you have to prove it a point so that you are able to have these projects. Nonetheless, when you are accessing international finance, another part comes our hedging. We are drawing international currency and we have to implement in Indian currency and return to international currency. So of late, like the rupee depreciation is coming, so we need to do hedging, which adds up to close to 4% or 400 basis points increase in your rate of interest or the cost of funds. This is one. Then GCF, when it lends, if you see, it will be supporting only 25 to 30% of the total financial outlay, which translates to your almost 2/3 of money you have to mobilize through your resources or co-funding that way. So the funding is not so much like what we understand, like different estimates are there. Like at national level, some estimates say that you need $2.5 trillion for mitigation and adaptation, which will be by 2030. And for adaptation, core adaptation, it could be $0.2 trillion. For 2017 net zero target, we may need more than $10 trillion. Also, statistics says that whatever tracking we are tracking green finance, that also quite debatable. It is lesser than 25% of total requirement, and adaptation fund finance was close to $5 billion by 2020. So our requirement is very high. Whatever finance we are doing, 80% of close to 80% of it is domestic finance. So when we have got limited resources, loss and damage proportion and its impact is becoming too much like eye-catching and significant, and demands attention as compared to other modes of finance. So here, that is the getting technology, getting finance for moving your climate change action, it becomes a challenge. Plus, as we discussed, more funding goes towards mitigation side because it becomes a little more viable and gives a cushion to the financer. So it attracts financer to little blend your product, and with the policy level support, you go ahead with more towards mitigation. Whereas we are envisaging something like 50-50 adaptation mitigation ratio. Plus, when we see about there is green taxonomy needs to be further defined. How much green a product is. Like we have seen, our experience says like entities are raising finance through green bonds, but the intended purposes is one place, and it is its use is not so clear. There is not much transparency in the disclosure mechanism. So there is a lot to be done at disclosures, how much we do, about our transactions, our emissions. We are yet to net zero target is there, but we need to at different level, be it institution, why not a small organization? We have got scope 1 emission, scope 2 emission, scope 3 emission. Can we have a roadmap like by this 2030 or 2040 or 50 or 60? But necessarily before 2070 or by 2070, I should be net zero. What is the roadmap? What is the transition cost? How much cost it may warrant? How much technology I should have? That way, if we can have, we need to have a roadmap at different levels to facilitate our net zero target. Next, please. This I covered. Tried to cover green financing part and nabard's experience. So now I'll be trying to touch upon two aspects Nikita ma'am was asking: carbon credits and trading. We are more or less aware that India is one of the most prominent potential market for carbon credit surplus and trading. But for that, you need to have a scale. It can be either how much XYZ activities are giving me credit, like I got a afforestation program under watershed program or a TDF project, tribal development project. I can put some standard like 0.023 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent for a mature tree. Like that, I do regenerative agriculture, I do natural farming. So how much fertilizer saving I have. So these assessments, they have got different standards, different yardsticks. You either approve a project beforehand, or you prove your point that you have done plus additionality is there this much in saving or sequestering carbon, and you convert it to carbon credit and market it. But for that, you need to have a scale and viability. Some people say it goes as 60% of your revenue goes towards getting carbon certification, carbon credit certificates and trade it. So, and again, challenge comes, so which is your baseline data? Baseline data is always dynamic. Today it is at one place, tomorrow it may be another. Benchmarking will be there. So benchmarking, key data, core data points, method of collection, authenticity of that, sanity of that data, who will certify, how it will be, it's a big game. And also it attracts moral hazard, like X company takes our carbon credit and says that I am green. So why the company cannot take initiative at their level to reduce the emission, rather than by putting money trying to pose as a green? It's like pseudo concept. For this, policy landscape needs to be clear. As we discussed in the beginning of our presentation, Government of India is planning to have a domestic carbon market. Like if you remember, NCX started carbon trading something like 2008 or 10 or something like that, but it never took off. It collapsed with Chicago Stock Exchange getting down also. So if we have a carbon, we have got a 2070 target. We want to have our greenhouse gas emission target. Then whatever credits we will be able to do, or whatever reduction we are able to do, why not to capitalize at country level, then go for trading in country level, then maybe international market. That is the idea going at Government of India level. Maybe it will be coming shortly, like who will be the entity, domestic entity, who will be certified or recognized to give carbon credit certification, how it will be, modalities will be clearer once the policy comes out in set. Until then, we are not sure how we can do it. Of course, we have come across where people are taking carbon credit, they are harnessing, but it's to take a large scale policies landscape needs to be further clear. Next, please. Coming to climate insurance. Yeah, Climate insurance, when you see the current products, I will not call it exactly climate insurance. Basically, how we use certain different proxy to assess the loss and damage. Presently, whatever products we have, it is on payout is determined based on loss and damage. That means notional or actual loss assessment through maybe crop cutting arrangement for the crops, or like other type insurance, like mortality of animal or something, it is insurance. But yield of milk for livestock, the product is yet to be in the market. So it's a loss and damage concept rather than incremental loss or the loss which can be assessed at index level. It is not there. Plus, this assessment is at a unit level. Like we have got automatic rain gauge stations at block level. Different companies, including insurance companies, or they buy the data, they come down below that unit and go to village level also. But it is basically not to the, if we call it a land parcel. I have got 0.3 acre or 1 acre, and I have got wheat. In another area, I have got barley or gram. Can I make different claims? No, it is not that way. Long way it has to go. Different players are working. Like one agency, I have, you might have heard. Okay, not to take the name of the agency. Basically, like one agency is there who the agency is assuring, is giving package of practice. It is tracking, georeferencing, geotagging the area. Then it has got a portal where critical activities and the for the critical activities, your farm level activity is const tag is data is fed, so that they are sure that you are following the package of practice from seed selection to harvesting. All things are done. Then during the course, if the farmer is following the package of practice, or it is validated through field visits by the company, they put a benchmark like we assure you of suppose 6 ton per hectare is the assured yield. If I do follow it properly, maybe I'll increase to 7 ton per hectare. That is assured yield I am giving. Any loss, company will be taking care through going for general conventional insurance product for the farmer. They will be able to give the farmer confidence that yield level will be going from X level to Y level. And if there is a fall from that, company will take the hit. So some products are there. So if such companies, such initiatives, such startups go ahead where individual land parcels are digitized and data history is built up, and over the years, why not we will have a product where some insurance company can come up and say that for your particular field, I'll be able to give you a claim settlement. That way, maybe promise, it looks promise. So in NFCC, we have a project in Punjab where a pilot has been done for risk for factoring in climatic risk on loss of milk yield. So basic hypothesis is that milk production is severely affected if through increase in temperature or humidity. So one temperature humidity index has been designed, and it has been assessed that something like if it is a 70, index value is 70 or 72, some range like that, that is the threshold yield. If it goes up, then there will be a decrease in yield, milk yield. So now that model has been tested for 2 years for different number of animals with this is the threshold, and beyond threshold, suppose it is 84 THI, the temperature humidity index is more than 84 for a period of continuous period of 9 days or so, or 6 days or so, then it will trigger a yield loss. So it becomes easy if you have an index and quantify how much loss it could be. Unfortunately, there is no payout which could hint at inference that maybe this model is not customized or designed properly, which will do justice to the yield loss to the from the climatic variability. So this could be, but it holds promise. And this could be one of the such initiatives which can give us good result. But coming back here, when we talk about the insurance and exactly climate, it is very difficult to attribute the loss or no, be it notional or actual loss to a particular climatic actor or weather event, because we are translating through maybe loss of yield, loss of weight, so which is a composite indicator having bearing on so many ways, like how I am rearing the animal, or how good I have managed my field. So yield will be varying on that, which gets masked through different activities. So it will be difficult to attribute a X particular pattern to the climatic actor. Rather, contribution could be a better way. So it is, as long as an index is not clear, proxy is not clear, it will be very difficult to attribute if climatic actor is this. Then coming to underwriting cost. Underwriting cost is high. Many people feel like, I remember something like 2019 or so, 94% profit was there for the insurance company. If you see like Amphan, claim settlement was almost 1/3 or 1/4 in terms of amount released versus the claim. Even though number of claims maybe 80% or 90% level were settled, but the amount almost 3/4 were not settled amount wise. So, but it was a significant amount, maybe something like 430 crore or something out, which was a historically high one. So with extreme events becoming more frequent, the likely loss from climate events also is very high. So to factor in that, it may add to the premium. One, when you see from the perspective of vulnerable entity or community, having insurance transfers my risk to the insurer. But what about the insurer? Whom insurer will transfer his or her risk? It will be to the party or the premium holder. So it is a trade-off. As such, insurance penetration is low. It is close to 3% of GDP. If you see at India level, which is much lesser than 6 or 7% international level, it is close to 25% of our KCC holders or the farmers, rather 25 to 26% farmers who have taken some insurance, not necessarily crop insurance. So insurance penetration is low, so that level playing field or scale is not so much for the insuring agency. One. Second is if we factor in climatic part, first of all, to assess how much risk could come and how much quantify and factor in the product pricing, that also becomes a difficult proposition, which is a challenge. Plus disclosures. They say something like very low rank our weather insurers have in India. They are in the range of something like at 10% level of disclosures. We need to do fair disclosures about our initiatives, our exposure to climatic action, and our contribution. So this is what I would like to say. But nonetheless, this is a product which gives us a cushion in terms of risk transfer. But it also attracts moral hazard, like the party may be little cozy or complacent. Okay, there is an insurer. It should not be that way, but it should be an integral component of the whole scheme of things. So basically, climate financing is the need of the hour. We need to have proper nomenclature, proper taxonomy, to assess how green we have. We also have the responsibility. We need to imbibe our life for environment lifestyle also. How less we consume, how much less we demand, how sustainable and environment friendly our activity will be there. We are also party, and we are also a mover or actor in mobilizing the finance plus action towards climate change. Thank you so much. I might have